Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 5th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Overall, all things considered, I'm doing pretty good. Yes, but we'll get into it. Let's see. I woke up. I've been having some like car issues and stuff. So I said, all right, first things first, let's go ahead. And I think I've mentioned it before with the whole tires or whatever, right? So I was like, let me go ahead and get them not so much looked at, but I need to see about getting an alignment done. So I go and I get it checked out. Excuse me. The guy calls me out, to the I don't know where the bay where they're working on everything. So gets me under the hood. We're seeing everything, and he's just telling me all the problems. And I was like, oh, I know where this is going. Looks like this is more than an alignment. And another mechanic explains like, yeah, you're gonna have to get all these things fixed in order to get that alignment done, and it'd actually be worth it. And I was like, okay. So I look at it, like the total, and it was like around 1,700, and I was like, yeah, not doing that today. So it is what it is. It looks like the car is still drivable, but I don't know how this problems it's gonna get worse or not, what have you. So that's the situation we're in. But you know how like sometimes a problem's like kind of so bad that you're just kind of like whatever, like if this is still operational, I can still get from point A to point B. I just need to be aware and drive as carefully as I can. Then okay, that's the deal. That's the life I'm living in. So that's where we're at. So after that, I said, okay, fuck it. We're going to go work out. And that went well. That was good. It was a solid little workout. Also, a nice thing that happened was I ran into my neighbor. And we had like a conversation prior about like doing gym stuff. And it was just nice because it was like, I always have this thing where I'm not really worried about it. But I do think that like people who like ask me repeatedly about me like doing the gym stuff and da 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 da, like they don't think I'm serious about it. So it was just one of those like, hey, I'm here. You see me, I see you. So it was just that. So it was fun. But yeah, overall, other than the car stuff, it's been a good day. I guess we can kind of waltz into the food corner a little bit. I got a smoothie at Smoothie King. Was it a strawberry? It was lemon twist strawberry. I don't know, something like that little thing. It was good. It was fine. Not worth the $7 at the end of the day in terms of pricing, but it is what it is. But yeah, what else did we eat last night? I had made a little thing at home, Korean fried chicken and white rice with egg rolls and crab rangoons. So yeah, that was good. That was yummy. So yeah, now we're all caught up on my food, on my life, my times, trials, tribulations. I think that's what I was trying to say. All right, let's go ahead and do the startup, and we will get into some news. How's that sound? All right. Our first story comes from DW, Haiti. Gang opens fire, killing at least 70 people. The government in Haiti has deployed teams of anti-gang police after gunmen carried out a mass shooting through a town near Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, killing at least 70 people and forcing over 6,000 people to flee. This odious crime against defenseless women, men, and children is not only an attack against victims, but against the entire Haitian nation. Prime Minister Gary Cannell said on X, adding that security forces were reinforcing the area. On Thursday, gang members brandishing automatic rifles opened fire in the town of Pont Sandy and later set houses and vehicles on fire, according to local authorities. I believe 45 houses and 34 vehicles. They go through the list of exactly what or who was killed in terms of just like which people, men, women, children. Obviously very just sad. We're gonna just kind of surf through that. Let's see here. There was a part I wanted to say from the gang that they had a response from Luxon Elon, who is the leader of the Grand Griff gang, who took responsibility for the massacre, saying the massacre was a response to civilians remaining silent when police and vigilante groups killed his gang members. So that's crazy to essentially say, oh, well, we're going to lump you into this and like you have to kind of pay it now, a tax, which is just very cruel and fucked up. Sadly, this is just kind of more of the same. Excuse me. I know that there's been kind of talks of like other countries kind of forming a bit of a coalition and coming in, like, spearheaded by Kenya or what have you. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like much is really changing right now, at least from what I've heard and seen so far. But, I'll try to do my best to keep y'all updated. But let's go ahead and move along. Got a couple of flood stories and some, at a world level, not so much at the state, America stuff with obviously Hurricane Helene. But from CNN, at least 21 people killed, dozens missing in floods in Bosnia. Let's see here, okay. Rescuers dug through rubble in the village of Donja Jalbanaka. Oh, I'm totally butchering that. I'm sorry. Jalbanaka. Jalbencia. We're gonna say Jalbanaka, and I know that's not. There's a whole I there, and I'm not gonna use it. But on Saturday morning, en route for people who went missing in Bosnia's deadliest floods in years that hit the Balkan country on Friday, the N1 TV reported that 21 people died and that dozens went missing in the Jalbanaka, once again, I'm sorry, area 70 kilometers southwest of Sarajevo. See, I got that one right, though. I'm pretty sure that's Sarajevo. The government is due to hold a press conference later. Scrolling ahead. Let's see here. Yeah, they just show a lot of damage. I know I posted the house that like you can literally just like kind of see. A lady kind of describes at a point where she comes out and like she just sees like just this like white kind of just mist almost, and it's described that that's because of the type of rubble and concrete is this like it just gives off this white dust, and she's just like, I couldn't see anything, I couldn't see anyone, I just heard screams. So that's really sad and scary, and sadly it just seems like this is going to be more of the same. I do like an article that does mention and evokes the reminder that like, hey, there's a good chance that this is related to climate change, and you're going to see more of this because climate change. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to another flood story. This involving some elephants from CNN. About 100 rescued elephants escaped flash floods at popular sanctuary in northern Thailand. 2 killed in evacuation. Flash floods swept through a popular elephant sanctuary in northern Thailand on Thursday, killing 2 elephants and forcing the evacuation of about 100 more alongside dozens of tourists amid urgent pleas for help. Dramatic video and images from the Elephant Nature Park near the city of Chiang Mai showed dozens of elephants wading through belly-deep water to find safety on higher ground. It was the biggest evacuation we have ever done to save their lives. The water rose rapidly. I'm getting this name wrong in advance, but Seeing Duan Lek Chelert, founder of Elephant Nature Park, told CNN, calling the floods the most severe the park has ever experienced. Video showed park staff who worked with the elephants, known as mahouts, shouting, "Go, go, keep going," as they urged the huge pachyderms out of their pens and through the high floodwaters. Yeah, it was definitely sad. You can like go through and see some of the pictures. Like the whole preserve is just flooded, and to just imagine like floodwaters so high, moving so strong that they can take and sweep away a whole elephant, right? Like that's intense. And you see some of these photos where it's like not just up to their heads, like it goes like at their eye level. Like it's just so intense, so scary for these like poor guys and gals. Let's see here. And it does mention that yes, there was like two that were lost. And then there was two that are missing as well. Let's see here. Can I keep scrolling ahead? Northern Thailand has suffered severe flooding and landslides in recent weeks due to torrential rains brought by Typhoon Yagi, Asia's most powerful storm this year, which left dozens dead as it swept across the region in mid-September. And really, I feel bad because like Yagi is something I mentioned like one time in the past like week or so that it was going down, but this is definitely a reminder that like I missed a bunch of stories along the way that were just out of that as well, very similar to Hurricane Helene. So I mean it's a shame that like when these natural disasters kind of take place, because at the same time there's still so many other things going on, and it's a lot of plates, you know what I mean? But definitely just really upsetting that a lot of lives were lost from just that situation alone. And then now we have these animals, these poor little animals, and they do a rundown too, because it's not just elephants that are at this park. There's also like a bunch of other animals as well that have to be like evacuated and moved. I believe that the plan is to like try to get them up to like a mountainous area, or like up to the mountains, because it's kind of the only place they can kind of go that's away from roads and people and things of that nature. Let's see, another thing I wanted to mention: about 30 foreign volunteers are also trapped at the sanctuary, including 5 Americans, some of whom have been working at the park for several weeks, Sanduan said. Let's see here. He also stated that we urgently need volunteers and animal cages, as we must move the animals to the mountains due to the roads being completely cut off in both directions, the park said in a post on Facebook. So there you go. It's kind of what I was trying to paraphrase earlier. I found that. Let's see here. Let's keep scrolling ahead. Here we go. As well as elephants, the park is home to about 5,000 rescued animals, including dogs, cats, horses, pigs, and rabbits, some of which were evacuated in recent days after authorities issued a flood warning. Let's see. So yeah, that's more or less where I wanted to just leave it with this article. If I hear any more about this nature park, I will definitely keep us abreast, keep us updated. But I wanted to move on to our last piece. We got another scammer. This is a scam. These are a scam family, bro. Whew. And I don't think I've really talked about them before, but this was a perfect excuse to take some time to talk about them. And man, I'm going to save it. I really don't have any kind of good lead in here, but man, we'll get into the family, the Bilzerian family. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our last break, and then we'll go ahead and close it out. Ooh. All right. Bit of a critical hit there. All right, from Las Vegas Review Journal. Dan Bilzerian's company and father face criminal charges. Federal prosecutors announced criminal charges against a company founded by Las Vegas celebrity Dan Bilzerian and against his father, alleging the elder Bilzerian funneled money to his son's business while owing judgments that now surpass $180 million. It's also worth noting here, in case I forget, that Dan Bilzerian himself is not indicted in this. There's also an SEC filing against Paul Bilzerian and the company, and like the owner of the company or whatever. But once again, Dan Bilzerian is dodging bullets. It's crazy to me, because to me, in my mind, like, that man is got to be guilty of something. We'll get into it. They do a good encapsulation of who Dan Bilzerian is. But yeah, they describe him as being famous for being famous, and I think that is a very apt description. But I feel like he comes out, and if you're looking at the thumbnail, he's the guy on the right in the lower part of the photo that just looks like Minecraft Steve. That just looks like the most Giga Chad guy you could probably just picture type thing. That's him. And then it is dad, who looks like a little wily little guy with a nice mustache. But yeah, I mean, both scammers in my mind, but apparently, nah, DB's getting out clean here. But yeah, I mean, essentially he got famous for being a dude, being a cool guy. He's talked a big game, like he's good at poker. I've watched him play poker. I've watched him lose a lot at poker. Not really win, not really do much there. I've watched him just throw money around. I think what really is his bread and butter is just the Instagram itself, and just being the like cool hot guy content creator, and he's just surrounded by hot women, and like, because you have this juxtaposition of hot women and then what you think a guy should be doing, I think is why he's so popular. He was just able to kind of cultivate this vibe of being like an IRL Gaston like character, but so there he is, there, and then there's his dad, who apparently is the foundation, the bedrock of this shit, because he was scamming his ass off. And that's something I kind of heard a little bit from podcasts, but never really got like big details, or at least none of it stuck for me. So hearing this was kind of like, okay, we got some news to kind of hang on to and really kind of talk about, digest, if you will. So let me read a little bit further. A federal grand jury returned a 9-count indictment last week against Ignite International Brands Limited, Paul Bilzerian, and Ignite executive Ron Roletter, we're going to say it's Roletter, on charges including conspiracy to defraud the United States and wire fraud. According to prosecutors, the defendants conspired to thwart securities regulators from collecting on judgments against the elder Bilzerian, a former Wall Street investor. So there you go. Excuse me. Dan Bilzerian, a social media star with more than 31 million followers on Instagram, is not a defendant in the case and was not accused of any wrongdoing. He was identified in prosecutors' news release about the case and in the indictment by his initials DB. Let's see. His Las Vegas mansion is also mentioned, as prosecutors allege Roletter falsely characterized the 5-acre compound on Patrick Lane near Jones Boulevard as a rental property in the younger Bilzerian's tax returns. So how, like, I need someone to explain to me how that doesn't implicate him then, right? Because that's his shit. Like, he's living there, and you're saying it's rental, and it's not a rental. Like, okay, whatever, fine. Like, I guess it just feels like he's getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it. That is my energy right now. That being said, do I follow Dan Bilzerian? Yes, the fuck I do. I do find him vexing. I'm not gonna fucking lie. Like, it wasn't until some point I kind of realized, like, oh, you should never buy anything he's trying to sell. Like, wait, he's selling things? Like, it was so weird. Like, I remember I'm going on a tangent about this man, but like at some point he was selling something, I think it was like Ignite Weed or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that's already way too turbocharged. I don't want to ignite weed. Like, that feels a little strange. That's making me scared, Dan. What are you talking about? But essentially he was like doing like CBD stuff and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, ooh, this just feels like a grift. It feels like a scam. And I think in like 2021, that shit went bankrupt or whatever. But yeah, this just didn't feel trustworthy. But at the same time, it's like it's in that gray area, right? And I feel like this was also at a really perfect time because we didn't have like anyone like an Andrew Tate. And this isn't me going to like glaze mode or anything about Dan Bilzerian because I do think he's a piece of shit. And there are weird, crazy moments. Like apparently he was there. I'm getting just in the weeds. Apparently there was the Las Vegas shooting. I mentioned it. Guy like posts up and he starts shooting people out of a hotel. Shit's going crazy. Apparently, there's a story that Dan Bilzerian runs up to a cop and he says, "Hey, man, give me a gun. I can help." And they're like, "No, get the fuck out of here." It's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? It's not a video game. Get the fuck out of here. People getting shot. Also, pause. You in Las Vegas, you can just carry a gun. Why the fuck do you not have one in your like fucking little Speedo shorts, dude? If you want a gun, you have them. There's pictures of you with tons of guns. So that was weird. I'm getting in the weeds about what the fuck I was talking about, but I'm glad I got to tell that story. I guess we can just get back to his dad. Let's just take the car. Let's take it back. Let's get back to this article. The indictment also alludes to Paul Bilzerian's recent comments to a Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter in which he said he never owned or controlled an entity that prosecutors say he used to funnel money into his son's business. So it's like he was already on the hook for money, and he's not paid like any of it. But all the while, he's essentially just funneling money into his son's company, which makes sense because I'm like, what is this guy doing that's successful? It doesn't seem like he's doing anything of worth or merit, but he's always like making these ventures. He's always out and about. He's always doing these things. And it's like, it's scams, baby doll. That's probably how this is going. At least you gotta say allegedly. We can, once again, just kind of keep reading further. Famous for being famous, Dan Bilzerian portrays himself online as a wealthy, successful jet setter who is always surrounded by beautiful women, fires heavy guns, and flies in private aircraft. His business interests include Ignite and International Brands, which sells liquor, apparel, and other products. Dan Bilzerian was Ignite's chairman and CEO, but according to prosecutors, his father had de facto control of the business, with Rothletter, the elder Bilzerian, oversaw Ignite's operations, strategy, marketing, fundraising, the U.S. Attorney Office said. And the SEC Commission also filed a civil complaint last week against Ignite, Paul Bilzerian, Rothletter, and others, alleging that the company fraudulently reported revenue. But Dan Bilzerian was also not a defendant in that case or accused of any wrongdoing by the SEC, which I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, once again, I just feel like this guy's guilty, and yet maybe not. Maybe not enough that they can really prove and make it worth the time and effort to try to actually get him and his father, Paul. So, I mean, hey, I guess it is what it is here. Oh, I'm finally getting to this part here. The SEC obtained more than $62 million in civil judgments against him in 1993, but has only recovered about $547,000 with interest. The judgments now surpass $180 million, prosecutors said. So essentially, he's just like, oh, yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I got you. I'm going to get you that money. I'm good for it. Come on. Yeah, I love America. You love me. Come on. Stop haggling. You're hassling me. And all the while, he's just giving his chiseled face son just a bunch of fucking money to just do whatever the fuck he needs and wants to do, do all these little parties and these fucking little things. But once again, meanwhile, Dan, not implicated. That just bothers me. Let's see here. The Review Journal recently reported that Blitz NV, a holding company owned by Dan Bilzerian, filed for bankruptcy last year. The company stated in court papers that its largest creditor was International Investments Limited of St. Kitts, which had loaned $3.9 million to Blitz. Blitz sought court approval, to borrow more money from International Investments, saying in court papers that without the additional funds, it would potentially face administrative insolvency, followed by liquidation. It did not reveal in that filing who was behind International Investments. Ooh, spooky. Who's behind the curtain? Look, it's October. I can do that. I can do spooky voices. According to court papers filed in the case by Steel Supplements, a company that previously sued Blitz, the lender was associated with Paul Bilzerian. Wow, looky there. It's Paul again. Steel later said the entity was affiliated with Bilzerian's mother and perhaps his father. And I didn't talk about the family, I'm kind of portraying this as like a meet the Bilzerians, but, maybe another time we'll get there. They have the document here. We're obviously at the end of this and the end of the story. But like I said, I really am just kind of happy that I got to rant about Dan Bilzerian. Because, like, what the fuck? He's just such a weird freak. And I realized that when Andrew Tate happened, because I think this is what I was going to get to earlier, and I kind of, like, got psyched out. But, like, Andrew Tate definitely takes the cake in terms of being a huge prick, just the worst guy. And like, it was repulsive to me. And don't be wrong, Dan Bilzerian is also equally gross and equally a bad guy. But I think, like I said, the charm kind of worked on me when I was just a tad bit younger. And you just like, okay, if he's just like a douchebag or something like that, okay, like, that's fine. He's on his little yacht or whatever. I, once again, don't know how he got all this fucking money. That's cool, I guess. But as long as he's an isolated, siloed thing, whatever. But like, Andrew Tate was once again doing this whole top G grift and like, getting memberships, roping in young kids to do blah, 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 blah. Like, he was doing Zoomer scams, or at least Zoomer schemes and plots and things of that nature, and it was working, and it was milking a lot of money up, and generating a lot more attention so he could, put out this crazy message. I've never really heard Dan Bilzerian say anything political. I've not really heard, like, Dan will say some dumb, guy shit from what I heard. But like, once again, why do you watch Dan Bilzerian with sound on? To me, that's not the point. And really, I hate to say it, I'm going to be 100% real with you. A lot of times I was not watching Dan for Dan. No, like, cool layout, cool scenery. You get this guy out of here. But at the end of the day, that was the grift, I thought. And I was like, you can get me on this. For the social media sake, okay. But once he started selling products, that's when you're kind of like, okay, what are we doing, bud? What's going on? What is Minecraft Steve doing here? And you realize, oh, he's a grifter. And then you realize he has a grifter dad. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's a grift family. It's a grift empire. So, like I said, I'm glad I got to kind of yap about that today. That was, yay for me. That's what it's all about. Let's see. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Please support the effort today. Become a newsie today. Shout out at the top of the month. Plug a project if you like. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Let's see here. Subscribe to the YouTube. I think we're at 80. So that's cool. We're growing. That's a free action. Also hit the like button, leave a comment. Sharing is caring. It can be fun. And feel free to rinse and repeat on the Spotify, whatever listening platform you're on. It really helps. Even if you're on Apple. Even on Apple. There's a lot of Apple users out there. And I love you. I appreciate you. You're seen, obviously. You have a cool little phone, It's the best in the business. But yeah. And also, there's other ways to hit up, like the Discord. I kind of feel like you say that with the socials, right? Am I being redundant? Probably. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.